On this program, I tend to go on and on about the connection between movies and cars and pop culture. Would James Bond be James Bond without his iconic Aston Martin DB5? Can you think of Steve McQueen without picturing the Ford Mustang he drove in Bullitt? Hell, the DMC DeLorean was in production for less than 3 years, but because it was turned into a time machine in one of the best and most popular science fiction movies ever made, it has reached a cult status that very few vehicles can ever hope to achieve. The car I'm driving right now might not be as famous as the DeLorean, and if you're not a car person, you might not even know what it's called. But if you ever turn your TV on at any point during the 1980s, I can guarantee you that you've seen it at some point doing some crazy stunts in the streets of Bay City. 10403, I'm on my way. This is not a Ford Grand Torino like the 1976 model from Starsky and Hutch. Neither is it a 1972 model like the one Clint Eastwood drove in the 2008 movie named after the car. No, this is better than that. This is a 1969 Ford Torino GT. And her name is the Executioner. In the late 60s, Ford tried diversifying the range of the Fairlane, and they came up with the Torino, named after Turin in Italy, apparently because it is supposed to be the Italian Detroit. Well, if you've never heard about that before, I wouldn't blame you. Neither had I before I started researching this film. After 1971, Ford dropped the name Fairlane altogether, so what used to be the Fairlane 500 XL simply became the Torino. And fun fact, the name Torino was originally destined to be given to the Mustang before the marketing department changed their mind. Would the Mustang have become that popular if it had been named anything else? I don't know, but it's always fun to think about those tiny forks in automotive history, don't you think? But enough about the Fairlane and the Mustang. Let's talk about this GT, the sporty version of the Torino family. When it came out of the factory, it was fitted with a Windsor 351 engine 2-barrel, making 250 horsepower. At least that's what it said in the catalogue, but in truth, at the time, the automotive sector was suffering massive strikes, so there are rumors that Ford started playing fast and loose with the engines they put in their cars, so might have been this, might have been that. What I do know, however, is that this car is fitted with a 5.8-litre V8 that has been rebuilt with aluminium Edelbrock heads, intake and carburetor, as well as a fast crankshaft. And the result of these modifications are that the engine now makes roughly 350 horsepower. That is an adequate amount of horsepower. I approve of this amount of horsepower. The gearbox in here is a 3-speed FMX automatic, and the car is not fitted, thank goodness, with an aftermarket RVS exhaust with Flowmaster Super 10 mufflers, because that is impossible to pronounce. No, instead it is fitted with a single cherry bomb muffler, which is tuned, I'm told, to a frequency that brings a big smile on the face of anybody who hears it. Let's have a listen. Oh my god, it works! The car has also been fitted with modern disc brakes and vacuum brake boosters at the front, so you don't crash too often. The vinyl roof has been refurbished and the quarter panel emblems have been replaced. To stay on the topic of styling, you might look at this car and think, well, this old lady is well overdue for a trip to the body shop. But you'd be missing the point. You see, the rust bucket style is actually quite more forward-thinking than it would appear at first glance. It is painstakingly obvious that we are currently crawling towards some sort of apocalyptic catastrophe of one shape or another. So when the doomsday clock strikes 12 and we all have to survive in a Mad Max-like world, whoever is driving the Executioner will have quite the head start. At least in the styling department.
And there is plenty of space in the boot to store all of your leather outfits, as well as your sawed-off shotguns.
What else is there to say about the Torino? Well, despite having made a name for itself on TV as the striped tomato, it didn't really connect with the public that much. And the fame found with Starsky and Hutch was in any case too little too late. By 1976, less than 10 years after entering production, the model was discontinued. One of the reasons the car was discontinued was its poor reliability and how prone to rusting it was.
So here is a top tip for you if you're in the market for any old-timer. Just make sure it comes from someplace dry. This one comes from Vegas and it doesn't really get hotter or drier than Nevada. You know, the place where Death Valley is?
Now, what makes this car very special is that there aren't that many Torinos, let alone GTs, left on the road, and even fewer with this particular trim level. You see, out of the 130,000 Torinos produced in 1969, only 5,000 or so were fitted with bucket seat and what Ford used to call the formal vinyl roof. So there are just a handful of these muscle cars still out there.
So the sun is going down now, and I feel that it is my duty to give you folks a little piece of advice before I drive into the sunset. If you ever come across this car as it's roaming the country roads, just do yourself a favor and move out of the way. Because on the road, this Torino is both judge, jury, and executioner.